Let's bring up some of your feedback and see where your priority areas are. At Trevor Eric at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Monday Report. What would you like to see put on the table during this dialogue as a Kenyan? And then see here, Mayo says the main reason for the maandamano was the cost of living. The main agenda should be creation of job opportunities for the jobless and how to improve the Kenya economic conditions, nothing else. Okay. Karis says cost of living, number one man takes all government. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 shilling, Political Parties Protection Act, minimum returns on agriculture produce. Okay, straight to the point. Philip Mindio says the priority area in the talks can be none other than the state of the economy, followed by IEBC reforms. Okay. Malaki Oyugi says, I would request the government to discuss the issue of cost of living, very important to all Kenyans. Okay. Ogalo says, I think agenda should be 1, police brutality during maandamano. And 2, cost of living. Number 3, IEBC audit server. Okay. Lemayan says, how did we reach a point where both parliaments become extensions of the executive and unconducive for sane talks that are of national concern? Crispin Zadam says, the parliament needs to enact a law that creates a law that would enable structuring the framework of the talks. This must accommodate other critical stakeholders such as the LSK, religious leaders, and civil society. All right. Sheikh, is there anything else from the religious leaders' perspective that you think should be added? Where are your priority areas?
Let me begin by saying this, Trevor. Yeah. You see, there is the interest of the country and then the interest of the political formations that we have. Now, when you talk about 10 here, 10 here, who are they going to get the instructions from? Definitely, we know that it will be from the leadership from the political formations that they represent. Is that going to help us as a country? The answer is no. I think it is time now that we start thinking about the country and not the political formations. This is the problem that is ailing this country. Now, look at the environment, even as we are talking about dialogue. Moving away from debate, as Diana said, we want to move to dialogue. But from what we are hearing from the politicians from both political formations in the country, is it helping the situation? How many times have we heard somebody saying, kama wanafikiria ni serikali ya nusu mkate hapa, hakuna kitu kama hiyo. Does that help create an environment of dialogue? It doesn't help. So step number 1, from where I sit as a religious leader, I think number 1, we need to create that conducive environment for dialogue where the only guiding principle here would be the interest of the country. What is in the best interest of the country, not my political leader or my political formation, because this is what is ailing this country. We need to begin there. Then we need to ask ourselves, what are these things that Kenyans were promised when these people were looking for positions? Because the expectations of Kenyans were raised up there. They were told, as soon as somebody puts down the Bible, the price of unga will come down. As soon as we are through with this, within this number of days, this and that will happen. Kenyans had those expectations, the things that are ailing Kenyans directly. This is what we want to see in place. And they should be the priority for this in this dialogue. So the cost of living. And again, we have seen a lot of impunity, disrespect of the law. And I keep on saying, what examples are we setting as leaders up there when everybody can see that we have no respect for decisions made by the judiciary? So for me, the priority number 1 is put the interest of the country first. Forget about the interest of the political formations that we have in this country, political leadership, positions, because we can see that is where we are heading to, positions. And again, we don't need a quick fix. These quick fixes, Trevor, are not going to help this country. The handshake was a quick fix. And that's why we are in trouble today. Even in 2007, when we formed the Grand Coalition, I think we were just looking at the immediate solution to the problem. I think it's the high time now that we fix this problem once and for all. Okay. So we stop whatever is going on, address the immediate issues affecting Kenyans, and that is the cost of living. And let us be realistic, Trevor. If today I was in the seat of the president today, of course I would need time, and he has said that, give us time. But you see, information is power also. When you say, I am putting in place, like what was said here, that give us time, and after this time you'll see things working. But you need to show Kenyans, not only by word, by action also. What is it that you are putting in place that after some time, yes, we'll suffer, but after that, things will be okay. Again, we want to see you leading from the front. When you talk, you say that we are putting things in place to ensure that the cost of living is going down. We want to see you leading from the front. Yeah. Let us see you, for example, tightening your belt. As you tell Kenyans, tighten your belts because I'm working on a formula that will help reduce the cost of living in the country. We want to see that from the leaders up there. And then look at our constitution. You know, all these people should be reminded. And I think the best people to remind them are our lawyers and also the clergy. They need to be reminded that the positions they hold, like in parliament, in legislature, executive, and the rest, they are supposed to exercise the powers in those offices on behalf of the people of Kenya and as per the provisions of the Constitution of Kenya, and more importantly for me, in the interest of the people of Kenya. So that member of parliament sitting there should know, before they open their mouth to speak, either to support or to oppose any process in parliament, the first question they should ask themselves, is it as per the provisions of the Constitution? Because I'm not supposed to exercise my powers here as per my whims. It should be as per the Constitution. Yeah. 2, is it in the interest of the people of Kenya or the interest of my political leader? This is the problem that we have. So for me, as the clergy, these are some of the things that we would like addressed. Yeah. Then when we see, you know, when the country is burning, and then, I remember a session in Parliament last week, while people, I think they were addressing the police brutality and the rest, and we could see, when a member of parliament belonging to the leading coalition, the leading coalition, Kenya Kwanza, stand up, they would defend the police action and try to justify it. And then when a political leader from the opposition stands up, we know for sure they will castigate the police. Now, where is the interest of the country and the interest of the Mwananchi who put you in parliament to speak for them? And I think this is the problem that we're having in this country, Trevor.
Yeah. Eric, when you hear a proposal like respect for political parties, is that in the interest of the people, like what Sheikh is saying, or is that purely a political process? Because the issue here is that cannibalization of members of parliament. So they come in, they're in Azimio, then they're moved to Kenya Kwanza, and this is an issue that needs to be canvassed. Is that an issue for Kenyans as a people, like what Sheikh is saying, the interest of the people, or is that purely political?
Well, it is a question of both, because ultimately politics then affects everything, cost of living and how we are governed. So it's so much a question of the basics. If we cannot respect political party discipline, political parties' ideologies, then we set ourselves up for failure. So therefore, whereas it might not look like it's an entirely big thing, we understand that political parties are, first of all, a vehicle for expression of political opinions and for advancement of certain political ideologies. And where political parties then are not free to do that, where there is interference in the management of political parties, then what it means is that we are sliding back on the gains we have made towards moving this country and governing this country as a democratic state to perhaps a one-man or a one-party political situation, which in itself is a worrying trend, and it's something that ought to be resisted by all. So in as much as it might not really form the main theme of any talks, but given the context in terms of what we have seen in the country, it becomes problematic. Let me just add something to what Sheikh here has said. In terms of government policy and action that is consistent or that gives hope that the government understands the challenges that the country is facing. I was just thinking about this. You remember when we started off with the Hustler Fund, which was supposed to be, you know, an initiative that was to enable Mamboga, you know, get quick loans, access to loans, be able to purchase and sell and do that. But has there been any significant impact from such government policy? And I think that is where we now need perhaps an alternative voice to that of the politician. The voice of maybe civil society, religious organizations, and other professional organizations that can begin to ask the difficult questions. Why is it that these policies that the government has taken for the short time not reflected in a reduction of the cost of living? Where are we, for example, on the fight against corruption? It is literally dead. So why is it dead? And why is it that these initiatives, for example, to bring in fertilizer, to bring in sugar, to bring in maize, to bring in cooking oil, why is it that all these initiatives that have been done with a view to bringing down the cost of living have not reflected at the bottom line? Mm-hmm. When you look at all that, you are tempted to believe, and when you listen to the players in those sectors, that the cost of corruption in those initiatives is what has resulted to lack of no benefit to the common man. And I think that is why you need other people, other than politicians, to come in and ask those questions on behalf of the Kenyan people. Because my suspicion would be that if you allow the politicians only to engage in this conversation, then their conversation would be, we know what you are doing. How can we also get our share of what you guys are eating? But what we need is someone who comes in and brings a discussion and says, yes, on government policy, can we have this being done? Can we have this being done? This being done? That then will result in tangible benefits to the common mwananchi. Okay. Because unless that is done, we are just going to have, you know, a circus, or, like a circus. You know, what we famously used to call, you know, musical chairs.
Okay. We're running out of time here, but Diana, I'd like to hear from all of you your recommendations to the dialogue team. What do you recommend? You had already said that we need to move from debate to dialogue. What do you recommend to them as we wind up on this?
Thanks. But you ask about the protection of political parties. One, it would be good to protect people as they were elected on different political parties so that we strengthen our democracy. But if you look at the two principles, each election, they have fronted candidates on different parties for the last 3 election cycles. So do you imagine that the same people can steer a dialogue around strengthening political parties? No. I'd rather go with the person on Twitter who said, let us create Political Party Protection Act, where we finally try to root our political parties in something other than individuals. So I hope that can happen. To the dialogue team, Kenyans speak. Kenyans have avenues. Kenyans care for this country more than you do. They have voiced the things that matter the most. Cost of living, the high cost of taxation. They would like credible election and an institution. I think it is time you announce that you're the team to constitute a dialogue team. Please do not be the dialogue team, because as you have been constituted, you are not capable of leading a national dialogue on genuine national interest, but you're capable of leading a process of creating a dialogue framework. Give us a dialogue framework that finally steers Kenya out of the current mess and pain that we are experiencing. But I say, very well done for agreeing to come together and speak, but move sooner from ego to empathy and a process of putting this country together.
Okay. Sheikh, what did you recommend?
I just want to pick up from where Diana stopped. I think our leaders in this country, first of all, need to tone down. And I think somebody needs to remind them that we've moved away from campaigns. Trevor, you'd be forgiven, or somebody from outside would be forgiven, listening to our leaders to think that we are in a campaign season, the way they're talking. So they need to tone down. There is a problem, and the people in leadership, but especially the president and the ruling coalition, they should know that they are in charge now. We are through the elections. Whether some people agree or disagree, that's something else. They should take responsibility and know that if the country goes down under their reign, history will judge them very harshly. Actually, the bar for them is higher than the bar for the opposition. So they should calm down and put the interest first. Talking about political parties, discipline and protecting political parties, why do you think people are fighting for numbers and even trying to poach politicians from the other side? It's control. I want to control, and whatever I decide, I want it to be supported in Parliament, whether it is good or bad, whether it is good for Kenyans or no. I don't want a strong opposition in Parliament. That is why selfishness. And I want to tell them from here, and I'll remind them again, remember, it is God that put you in that position. And I'm glad the people in power today are very religious people, because we have seen them even going to church and crying before the pastors and the rest. So I want to remind them, that very God that put you there, mkono wa Mungu, that put you there, that same God atakuuliza, when you are in power, what did you do there? So can you fear that God and do what is right, so that tomorrow when you meet your Lord, because surely you'll meet your Lord, you'll tell them, dear Lord, when I was in power, this is what I did for the poor Mama Mboga, that I had promised to uplift their lives, and the boda people, utaulizwa na Mwenyezi Mungu. So I want to tell them, ogopa Mwenyezi Mungu, fear God. Okay. Think about this country. All right. Yes, Trevor.
Eric, your recommendations. Good. What does it wind up?
Trevor, I liked the fact that Sheikh here is telling us to fear God. The only problem with that is that, you know, you have to come to the end of your life before you can deal with God. And we are here today, and we need to fix the problems that we are facing today. But, I mean, that said and done, it was on a light note. Yeah. That said and done, we need to go back, in my view, to the basics. And what are the basics? The basics are these, that when you assume the leadership of the country, you swear to uphold the Constitution. Can we just go back to that and be faithful stewards and implementers of the Constitution? That would be my first ask of these discussions. How do we get to that point where we have faithful implementation of the Constitution? Tied perhaps to this interference with political parties, can we also stop interfering with the other established political, constitutional commissions that are supposed to be a check on government? can we get to the level where the police force is not, the police service is actually a service and not a force? Because right now, though we call it a service, it is a force. And its sole purpose, as of now, is to preserve political authority. Can we have genuine discussion to move and allow institutions and organs that have been set up under the Constitution to faithfully implement their mandate? That's something that we need to really have a national dialogue on and agree how we can achieve that and have it done faithfully. Can we have genuine and national discussion on how we share the political spoils? Because that's part of the bigger problem. Not just how we share the political spoils, but how we finance the getting of political power. In my view, there is quite a bit of illicit financial flows in our political processing in terms of campaign financing. And we need to get it right so that you do not have a situation where those that fund political parties, those that fund campaigns, then have a legitimate expectation that once the government is in place, then it is their time to earn the rewards of the investment which they have put in government. Because unless we deal with that situation, we are going to come back to the same place that we are trying to run away from.
Okay.
So my appeal would be, let us have a wide, multi-sectoral discussion that then just asks the question that goes back to the basic, that goes back to that point where we say we have a document that is supposed to govern this country, which is the Constitution. Okay. How faithful are we in implementing this Constitution? And then how can we do it? Where have we fallen short of the glory of the Lord?
Interesting. Let's bring up your feedback as we close on this conversation. Let's see quite a number of them coming through. Let's read a few of them. Trevor Eric at Citizen TV Kenya, use the hashtag Monday Report. Let's bring that up on your screen and see what you're saying before we close. Bran Chemwa says, as a hustling Kenyan, I have hope that the dialogue will incorporate collaboration on policies to promote economic growth, create job opportunities, and address income inequality to improve the overall prosperity of the Kenyan population. Okay? Okelo Mwalimu says, it's my hope and prayer that the proposed talks between Ruto and Raila will be centered around, number 1, reduction of cost of living, number 2, respect for the Constitution and constitutionalism, number 3, justice to families that lost loved ones and properties due to demos, and number 4, job creation. Okay? Kate Besk says, of importance to address at the moment is the rising cost of living. There is need to check on the heavy taxation bedeviling middle and lower income earners. I hope it does not degenerate into a political circus. Jay Letangule says Kenya should adopt constitutionalism, I believe that's what you wanted to say, democracy and constitutionalism, where there is a political elite compromise. This form of democracy is conducive for highly divided societies where resources and positions are shared on quota basis. All right. Thank you all for making time this evening. Eric Deuri, President LSK, Sheikh Ibrahim Lethome from SUPKEM, and Diana Gishengo, National Coordinator TISA. And most important, thank you all for the feedback. We'll keep an eye on everything that comes up. As soon as we know, you will know. On behalf of the entire team that made this possible, my name is Trevor Ombija. Have a good night and God bless.